Gotta do it again. Okay. It's okay. That's what they're supposed to do. Okay. I have it as 7:30 PM. We still have some people rustling around here. There's some seats kind of towards the front. I know that most students don't want to sit in the front row, but we have some there. We do have some there. So there are some here on the far side if people want to sit down. And probably the kids could let the adults sit. Yeah, probably. Or not.
Go ahead, sorry. Hi. I'm doing good, how are you?
Any kid that gets his thing, let them
Yes.
will sign their thing first.
Okay. Guys in the front row, you three and you two, different students. Can you guys get up and some of the other people can sit down? Great, thanks. Val, we'll put you there in the front row. There we go. I promise that they'll probably be out before you are, so you can get them back. Okay, it being about 7:30, we're going to call this meeting to order, and I'm going to call Val Clark up to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to everyone. We got a full house. That's good. Thanks, kids, we'll get you your chairs in a minute here. And I need a motion to adopt the agenda. We got a motion. We got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have no report of closed session actions. So we have staff presentations and information. The first item is a report of our student representative.
Hello. So last week was our ecology week.
We need to
And-
know who R is. There are a couple of people
sorry.
watching this on TV.
I am Sophia Kuriyama, and I'm ASB president of North High School. So last week we just finished our ecology week, and last weekend was our Relay for Life, which is a 24-hour walk in awareness of cancer. And North High raised over $4,000. And next week we will be having block schedule due to testing, and our prom tickets have gone on sale from the 11th through the 19th, and guest applications are due the 15th, and we are getting ready for all the end of the year activities. And We have a Kashiwa exchange program, so some of the students from North High School go over to Japan, and that is the 21st through the 29th. And that is it.
Thank you very much.
you.
Next item is a mandated cost reimbursement funds, and I'll introduce Dr. Stowe for that.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, members of the board. I wanted to bring this to you tonight just for information. We have, let me wait till the screen gets up here. No.
That's working well. Tammy will come running out of here in a second. We could take something out of order and then come back to it. Oh, is there activity?
Yes. We're trying to figure out what needed to be fixed.
I could hold them up. This is so like my own house.
Does it work for me?
Why doesn't that work?
Needs batteries.
She's got the clicker.
Well, can we do this without a PowerPoint?
Sure. We'll wait till it comes up. So mandated cost reimbursement. For many years, the state continues, there are mandated costs. These are things that we must do per legislation, but no funds were attributed or allocated for these things within the context of any budget. And so a few examples, there's 38 different categories in which we are mandated to do certain things. A couple examples include collective bargaining, scoliosis screening, and truancy letters. And there are a number of other of these mandated programs that are required by the state. And the state has paid these funds only when funds are available, especially through the lean years in the Great Recession, that no funds were sent to school districts for these mandated costs. Only the minimum amount that they were able to pay by statute. And so the result is there's a large sum of this money that is owed to school districts. And so in the governor's budget proposal, we might have something here. In the governor's budget proposal, there was included some back payments for these mandated costs. And so what we're waiting for now is the actual May revise to come out sometime next week. May 14th is the scheduled date. But within the proposal, there was an estimated $4 million for TUSD, $1 billion statewide for mandated cost reimbursement. And the governor has recommended that these monies, said these monies are one time and that they cannot be applied to ongoing costs, and that these one-time monies recommended uses, although he's saying that it's for mandated cost reimbursement, he's recommending the uses are Common Core standards, next generation science standards, and English language development content standard work in school districts. So as you know, and as Dr. Mannon has been a vocal proponent of, and that is the need for more funding for Common Core standards. It is estimated that statewide, it's a $3 billion investment to implement Common Core standards. And I don't even believe that the next generation science standards were part of that estimate. Currently, only $1.1 billion has been allocated by the state, which is about a third of that $3 billion estimate. The one-time funding was utilized in 2013 through 2015. In fact, the board approved in November of 2013 the Common Core plan for that initial $1.1 billion that was allocated statewide, of which 4.8 million came to Torrance, and that all those funds expire and must be used by June 30th of this year. So as we go through the development of the local control accountability plan, we're meeting with groups of teachers. Dr. Kim, Dr. Dougal, and I are going out to every school site and meeting with focus groups of teachers to ask them about what they need and in order to be better prepared to implement Common Core, Next Gen standards, and ensure student learning for all. As well as we have our advisory groups that we meet with. We have a board-appointed parent advisory committee that you're all aware of, as well as we meet with each of the bargaining units, as well as ASB students. We met with them on Friday. One other parent group that we do consult with is the LMAC, the District English Learner Multicultural Advisory Committee. So as we've gone through this process, we have asked them about what they need. And so we've identified some instructional needs. And some of the things that we did establish this year that were really the only thing that we, this year was out of the Common Core plan that we brought to you in November of 2013. We implemented resource teachers to train and support Common Core implementation. We implemented for this year PE teachers at grades 1 through 5 to provide weekly planning and learning time for teachers. And we also implemented or supported the continuing work that we've done with the CMAS program in mathematics by providing sections, 2 sections to each high school and 1 section at each middle school for a teacher leader to help with the implementation of math at those levels. In addition, we've identified for the coming year that we have a greater emphasis and a greater need to assist all grade levels in the implementation of the next generation science standards, as well as begin training on the ELD standards. And the ELD standards are going to take quite some time from the folks that we have that have reviewed them. They're saying that if we thought Common Core was tough, the ELD standards really raised the bar for our ELD students. And so we haven't even begun that process to bring teachers in a scalable effort to look at those. It's just focus groups of teachers and our ELD program specialists at this time. So we have some great instructional needs, and we know that teachers are working hard. And as Dr. Kim, Dr. Dougal, and I are out there and hearing from them, we know that they're using the time as effectively as they can, and we want to help support them in the implementation of Common Core. And as we just heard, the students are taking the first round of Smarter Balanced Assessment testing. We had some schools do last week, and most of the schools are starting this week or next week. So as we think about this implementation plan and what we want to do and how we want to support teachers, we really need to take into consideration the fact that we can't establish just a year-to-year model. The unsustainable model that we have in place this year that was out of those one-time Common Core funds provided a lot of instability not only for the people that are in those jobs, the PE teachers and the resource teachers, but also those at the site not knowing what next year looks like. And so what we really intend to do is we want to have at least a 2-year commitment, a 2-year plan for what we're trying to do so that we can build professional development programs and have personnel stability. In addition, we're looking to how we use federal title programs and state supplemental grant funds to support other professional development costs and resources, because these are 2 things that we continue to hear from teachers out there. And we've lost our screen again. So as we plan prior to the May revise, again, bringing it to you today, looking forward for next week, if the May revise holds that these funds are there, for us it would mean about $4 million. We would like to utilize $1.5 million for each of the next 2 years to provide the support for teachers in implementing new standards. And so that would include things like the PE teachers and the resource teachers, leaving them in place to be able to provide for that release time and that support. In addition, this would not take up all the funds that we would receive out of the mandated cost reimbursement, as we have other needs that we've identified that can be used for one-time expenditures. The IT infrastructure has identified certain things that we need to make sure we have in place, and additional equipment costs that we have, and working with Dr. Stabler and IT on that. So what's next? What we would like to do is to advertise these positions, particularly the PE positions, because it takes time for the pre-employment screening process. If we were to wait until after the next meeting, we're late in the year, and we're afraid some of these other people might take jobs elsewhere that are currently in those positions. They're temporary at the time, and also just to make sure that training and things get in place. Review the May revise for specific details on these one-time funds. If they don't come through, then we don't hire. But at the very least, we're hoping to be able to fly these positions and begin that process. And then we would bring recommendations to the board at our next meeting on May 18th on how we would like to use these funds once we've truly identified that the money is in the May revise, as we move forward. So that is the presentation on the implementation of the mandated cost reimbursement funds.
Any questions from the board? Well, you did a good job. Oh, Mrs. Reagans.
Thank you. Actually, I did have a question. Just recalling back to our last meeting here, we actually had a teacher stand up and say the PE teachers at the schools that we elected to bring to them so that they could have that weekly planning and learning time, that she could teach PE, she didn't really need those. Is that a general consensus among the teacher population, or is that in a minority view?
That's not what we've heard. In fact, every school we've been to, when Dr. Kim and I talk about what do you need, with the exception of I think 2 schools, and we've been to 13 of the 17 so far, have said their number one priority would be to bring back the PE teachers, and because it allows them that time. How the time is used, they have some input on that, and we want to make that better for them, and so that it's really truly collaborative time that they can work on, and provide them more support and resources in that regard. But consistently we hear from teachers, we don't want to be pulled out from class as much for training. We know a lot of that's inevitable. It's the time we have. But one way around it is to provide that weekly time that they can count on, and bring support to them as they need it, as their grade level teams are able to get that release time and really look at some student data and start planning some lessons and things like that. So that was one-time money that was used. That was the Common Core grant funds that were used for that program for this year.
So for those 2 schools that said that was not their ultimate priority, they still will be involved in this?
Oh, it was still on their list. It just wasn't.
Okay,
It wasn't
okay.
the number one item on their list.
Okay, because I had actually heard overwhelmingly positive things too, and was surprised to have heard that from one of the member of the audience. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
If there's any consolation, I've heard the same thing, Terry, overwhelmingly from every elementary teacher I talked to, that they love the fact that they got the break with the PE, so.
Good, well, thank you very much. And now is the time of our agenda for oral communications, or what they call unscheduled hearings. We have 2 cards. So I will start with Julie Schenkel.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Julie Schenkel, president of Torrance Teachers Association, and tonight I come to you to actually congratulate some teachers. We have 2 WHO award winners, and in our union, TTA, CTA, NEA, we actually have a celebration every year where we honor our teachers. WHO, we honor ours. And our 2 WHO award winners were Tom Chandler and Holly Evans, who've both been on our board for a number of years now. And they advocate for teachers every day, and we wanted to make sure that they receive some recognition.
Are they here?
Holly is, yeah, I can see Holly.
Oh, there she is. Okay, stand up. There we go. Good.
I also wanted to thank all the teachers in the room tonight because this is Teacher Appreciation Week. And we wanted to make sure that we give a shout out to all of our teachers who work so hard every day with the youth of this community. And so celebrate your teachers this week, folks. And next Wednesday is the California Day of the Teacher. And so we hope that you will join us in recognizing teachers on that day. I also wanted to give a shout out to the education support professionals in the room as well. May 17th through the 23rd is ESP week, and May 19th is the California ESP Day. And so we wanted to make sure that you guys had them on your minds as well, because we all do try to stand together. And speaking of the May Revise next week, we're so close to settling, and we're hoping that, actually we're looking to you guys for leadership to direct any new May Revise funds to help us amicably settle our contract and wrap up by the end of the school year. And so just know that we are looking forward to next week as well. Thank
Julie, I got one question. You've had events on those Wednesdays of Teacher Day every year.
Mm-hmm.
Is TTA planning an event on that Wednesday, or?
At this time, we are not.
Okay.
We have in the past, but we are not next week
Okay.
because we're looking forward to the May Revise, doing something
Okay,
instead.
okay, well, good, then that'll be a bigger party. Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna read this. Mary Beth Brownish, Borowski, okay, that's,
Hi, oh, I love. Good evening. It came to my attention a couple weeks ago that Torrance doesn't provide BITSA support for special ed teachers. And I just wanted to express my concern because as a teacher, we go through the BITSA process. Now it's a more strenuous process than it was years ago, and it's so tied to clearing your credential and going on that track of permanency in the district. And currently at Magruder, we have 2 new special ed teachers, and both of them are concerned because they need to clear their credential, but they also were looking for the support that the district gives all other new teachers. So, and that support's so important too, because it's in your district, it's with your district people instead of having to go outside of the district to do that. So I just want you to consider that it's a concern of teachers, and we do value our special ed teachers, and they are part of our community, and we don't want them to feel like they are separate, so.
Mary
thank
Beth,
you.
can
Yeah.
you say that again,
The BITSA program, which is the beginning teacher
okay, for
program,
special ed.
support
for-
program. Yeah,
Okay.
it is not inclusive of special ed teachers. They have to go outside to the county or to a credentialed university to get their clear credential with BITSA program.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good. On to discussion action items, and the first item will be a little, in fact, we'll wait a couple of minutes, everybody, and then the kids can sit back down.
We had no other cards.
Okey-doke, so we're gonna go into discussion action items. Actually, the first item is the reconsideration of placement of the gymnasium at Jefferson Middle School contingent upon completion of the environmental review process. So what I need first is a motion and a second from the board for reconsideration.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Good, okay. So we are back up for reconsideration, so I will now go to Dr. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. By doing that, the board has put this item on the agenda for discussion now by taking the action that you did. I'm going to call upon Mr. Jesse Miller from HMC Architects. If you'll recall, Mr. Miller is the architect for the middle school gyms, and he will take you back through the process of the two options that were previously given to the board. At that time, on March 31st, the board selected option A. So Mr. Miller will go through those with you now.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Mannon. We met previously back on March 31st to discuss the locations of Jefferson Middle School's gymnasium as well as Casimir's Middle School gymnasium. We are re-looking at the configuration of Jefferson Middle School. If you remember, we presented two options at that time. So what we want to show you, oops, other way, sorry. That's Jefferson Middle School site. The board approved option A. If you recall, we actually had option A in that grass area, but your guys' decision that night was to relocate it to the asphalt area a little bit further away from the homes, but in that same area up there on the north side of campus. Tonight, the action item is to reconsider to option B, which was presented last time as well. However, a little bit of a change is that option B from the last board presentation was in the grass area. This is now onto the asphalt area, but same location of campus down on the south side by Carson. So what we've done is to show the board, this is your path of what happened? There you go. So you can see the path of travel to each item, A and B. You can see that the shorter route for the main parking lot and for all the accessible patrons that would go to this gymnasium is the A option. The parking lot is located on the north side of the campus, so that is your main parking for any function in this facility. It's also going to be based on the Measure Y and Z modernization that's taking place this summer. That's going to be redone from that point all the way through campus, your path of travel, to make it all ADA accessible. So what you can see, let's see if this computer works. Oh, there we go. So one of the things we had mentioned at the last board meeting is that option B did come with a lot more significant additional cost. So we wanted to show and break those down as to, what those additional costs would be and allow you guys to understand. At that last meeting, we didn't have them broken down so you could fully understand the amount of cost. It was just me, saying it was more expensive. So the additional cost items to go to option B as opposed to option A, we'd have to remove, 13,800 square foot of asphalt and the two ball walls that are located down there. That adds about, relatively, you can see there, $15,000 to the budget. In addition, we'd be adding the following items to go to option B as opposed to option A. We'd add 10,000 square feet of asphalt back to accommodate the lost volleyball courts and ball wall courts that would no longer be accommodated, that would have been had we selected option A. We do have additional utility line runs that, remember, if you can remember back to the March 31st, option A, the utilities are all right there up there by the portables. Option B, we do have to run some down there that include 500 feet of gas line, 100 feet of water line. We'd have to add a new fire hydrant for option B because option A is getting a new fire hydrant up in that location as part of the YZ modernization. We'd have 500 feet of fire line, 100 feet of sewer line, 2 new ball walls, 2 new volleyball courts, and 50 feet of storm drain line to accommodate the change between option A and B. So we've broken down the cost of each one of those items, so that you can see the total cost difference is about $133,447 for switching from A to B.
Mr. Miller, would you go back to your, you can leave that slide up because it's fine, but talk about path of travel, because, you know, one of the comments that was made is that B is closer to the service road, you know, off Carson there, so, you know, isn't that the closest thing for path of travel?
Unfortunately, it is for non-able-bodied people. Unfortunately, as a state school project that's funded by the state, we cannot use that as our definition of path of travel. It has to be from an accessible location. The only accessible parking stalls on this campus would be back at your parking lot on the north side. There is no accessible stalls along Carson. So as a path of travel for ADA compliance, which is part of, you know, the state's, you know, 3 big requirements, and also the liability of the board and everything else, it is from the path of travel from the accessible stalls through the campus to the, you know, building in question. So there is that possibility of you could park along Carson, but they'd still, in order to, you know, mandate the equal access for everybody, we'd still have to route them all the way around to the front admin building, you know, similar to an accessible person coming into the site.
Thank you.
Mrs. Reagans.
Yes, actually, I had a question about the first item, the 13,000 feet of asphalt that would need to be removed. Isn't that not the same for A?
It's actually smaller up there because we'd have to be taking out a larger chunk, because there is, if you're familiar with that site, there's some slope down there, and the way that the fire lane will come around, because we're gonna be putting this building on the asphalt, that's currently your 20-foot wide fire lane, and that's what those gates are on the south there for Carson. We have to move option B a lot further north so that a fire truck can come straight down the school, but still have the ability to swerve back and, you know, within their requirements to get to that fence line, because we wouldn't be able to move that fence line in that drive aisle. So there is more asphalt that's removed in option B than in option A.
But 13,000 additional feet?
Yeah, I mean, it's because option A, remember, we were gonna eliminate the basketball courts and not put them back, because the gym was gonna suffice as those basketball court removals. And option B, because we're eliminating ball walls and such, we can't suffice that with the interior of the gymnasium, so we're gonna have to add that back.
And where would you visualize that happening? That was my next question.
Yeah, it would be up there, next to those portables, that are those 2 that are on the north side there. We just have to keep going up that route. There's AYSO and a lot of, PE and everything loves that, grass field on the west side of campus. That north field, up there is underutilized. It is used by AYSO, we found out at the last meeting. But that's the primary spot location for additional asphalt.
But without jeopardizing the single tree that's there?
Yeah.
It's a
I mean,
fairly young tree.
Yeah, what we would be doing is just essentially recreating the 2 ball walls and the 2 volleyball courts that would be lost. So, you know, if we can accommodate the layout of such to work around that tree, we can do that. There's a lot of space in there because if you remember, we were going to put the gymnasium there.
Right.
And then the last question is, what is the actual distance between the homes in A and the homes in B?
It's actually almost exact equidistance. So the homes in A from the back of the homes on Carmen, and then the homes on Ladine, is that correct? Ladine to the back of the homes on Ladine to B are about equidistance of 85 to 90 feet away.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wormers?
Refresh my memory, why are we moving it to the east onto the blacktop instead of out further onto the field? You said we made that decision last time, I don't remember why.
Well, originally, if option
On
A
option A.
was rotated 90 degrees and put up where that tree is, we,
That was the original, very first location that you presented
correct.
to us.
And then, and at that board meeting, the board approved the option A location, but moving it down further away from the homes.
Okay, that leads myself to the next question. If we go any further south with that gymnasium, it improves the view from the people living to the north. Is that provided we don't vary out of your path of travel, okay? Right now, it's coming in near the south end of the gym, your arrow does. If that arrow enters into the north end of the gym, i.e. we move it further south and possibly further west, does that have a huge cost impact?
No, option A would, allow us to, could have a very, a less cost impact than option B, even if we moved option A just a tad,
What I'm reaching for here is we're putting in a gym, that's a given, so everyone understands the gym's coming, that's not gonna go away. And I'm trying to find the best place where we irritate the least quantity of people, but I don't know if we can achieve that. I don't think anyone's really gonna be completely happy. I've stood in Val's backyard and looked at the view. It's a wonderful view. It's gonna be blocked by some of that gym regardless. So I'm looking for someplace where we can put it without having to spend $133,000. If we move it around a little bit, we jockey it a little bit, no one will be completely happy with it. It won't cost us as much money. We can still get kind of where we wanna get in this. That's, Don's taught me politics. This is politics 101, so.
So the hard part is from, I guess, the school's use part of the project. If we move A further south, what we're doing is essentially splitting up the blacktop area, and it's very difficult for PE to be run because there'll be courts on both sides of the gym, and the supervision wouldn't be allowed to be around the gym. So working with the principal and the site staff, it really needs to be, from the school's perspective, not the neighbor's perspective or anyone else's, but from the school's perspective, to be able to run a full physical education program, they need all their courts. And part of the YZ bond measure was going to restripe all the courts and reorganize those so that it would be a nice condensed where all the basketballs are basketball together, all volleyballs are volleyball together, as opposed to what's there now, and allow that physical education program to excel as far as supervision and condensing all of the sites. So if we move A down further, we'll have asphalt on both sides, and we may have, let's say, a spare basketball court on the north side to at least maintain the number of courts consistent with other schools in the district as far as, middle schools are concerned.
Right, and we did walk that. Mrs. Heinrich is here, the principal of Jefferson. I do believe that Mr. Miller has accurately described that because of sight lines for supervision, it creates some dead spots there.
Of course, it will, even where it's located now, it'll create some dead spots. It's a great place for kids to go hide.
Exactly, and they're looking for the least amount.
Correct. And that's what I'm also attempting to achieve by finding a place that's a little bit better in placement, other than, because B is just massively expensive, and understandably so. I didn't realize that a fire hydrant costs you $3,000.
Yeah, well, that's just the hydrant.
Yeah,
like,
that's actually cheap.
Yeah, I didn't realize that just the hydrant was $3,000.
Yeah, the hard part is part of, and if we go for a real big history lesson, the Measure YZ modernization, when we put that project through the state, they actually were trying to impose on us and on the school to install 3 new hydrants on this campus. One up by the parking lot on the street side, 2 right there by the tree area for our new science modulars. If you remember, the science modulars are going up there. And 3 down by option B. We were able to convince them, no, wait a minute, part of the Measure YZ scope, there's no new buildings going down where location B is, so we were able to eliminate that one requirement. However, if we do put the gymnasium back, they're gonna make us put the fire hydrant back in there.
Okay, Mr. Miller, I got a couple of questions. Okay. When you talk about the asphalt, you're not going to add any asphalt into the grass field to the west, right?
The goal would be, or the intent would definitely be not to do that. That's their best play field space. It's most utilized. It's utilized on the weekends. It's a nice shape for most athletic events. The limited more space is on that northwest or the north corner there of the grass up there, where we did find out it was mainly like very small age groups of AYSO play there. I know.
The youngest students.
Yeah, the youngest student, and I know from, the site committee and working with the principal, from a school perspective, they rarely use that area of their grass field. They concentrate all their PE, again, for supervision purposes in the field to the west. So the intent would definitely not be to add asphalt there if at all possible.
Okay, so you're looking to add asphalt where the original option A was, which would be
Correct.
to the west of the two modulars that kind of sit there by themselves, all the way out to what you would make a regular corner, as if that current asphalt area came all the way out?
Correct.
Okay, so we got a visual,
And the fire hydrant, the new one that we are adding as part of YZ, is gonna go right at that corner of the asphalt grass to the west of those two portables that are there.
Okay.
So that's why that fire hydrant's already installed and can serve the 300-foot radius that the fire department requires of both the new science modulars that are going up there and the new potential gymnasium that would go up there, and hence the need for not an additional fire hydrant.
okay, good. Well, thank you. I think we've exhausted the questions here, so we'll call from the members of the audience that would like to.
Can I ask one last
Yes.
quick question? For B, you mentioned that there's a slope to the south of B.
Yes.
That's not a problem with building in that location?
No, because that's why you can see, we have 3,800
moved
square
over?
foot of asphalt, and
Okay.
we're only gonna put 10,000 back, because that 3,800 is like the slope area, and we're actually gonna push that B, kinda gets pushed up, to eliminate that, as well as that fire lane, bend that we
Okay,
have to do.
thanks.
Okay, good, thank you. I'm gonna call everybody up, so first up is Thomas Myers, and after that, Carol Eubank.
Good evening. My name's Thomas Myers. I'm at 4306 Carmen. Just wanted to address a couple things quickly. This just came to my attention, but I did look it over, and I do live on the area there. Number one, on number A, he said if we built it the site at B, he would have to put additional asphalt for handball courts. But if you build it on A, you're going to be taking away the basketball courts. So why not put the volleyball court or the handball court where the basketball courts are on the site A? You're not building any more tarmac that way. Because you already said if you build it on A, the gym gives you your basketball court, so you don't need to build anymore. So that one doesn't make any sense to me. As well as the fact that Carson Street, the adjacent street there, does give additional parking. And as anybody knows from the area, when you have anything at the school, the parking goes around Carmen, and people park in driveways, and we've had to call police because they're blocking our driveways. Whereas the gyms on this side, they have the lot, the street along the school, and Carson to park on. So it does give extra parking, actually, by having it that way. As well as there is a sewer line and along Carson right there. So some of the stuff just doesn't really add up to why you need extra asphalt, extra spaces to put the volleyball courts or the handball courts, because you just replace where the basketball courts are. Now, financially, it came to my attention from my appraiser, actually, that having anything close to the residence actually lowers property values. And having the school where it is now, anything along Carmen and Ladine is actually a lower property value because the school's there, but as it encroaches onto that, he said that the property value will decline. He cannot tell me how much. I can get an appraisal report and I can submit it. Of course, it costs me money to do that. And then that view aspect on half the street, their property values would decline even more. So my problem would be, not only is it going to decline for my street, but it's also going to decline exponentially for the Ladine and everywhere else. Whereas on B, you're really only affecting 3 houses at the end, but not affecting view. So you're not affecting property value there for view. Whereas A, you're affecting property value for encroachment on the homes and view. So I just want to know, how do you recoup or how do you justify those costs when it's coming out of the homeowners' pockets in declined value? Just bringing up some attention to that. And along Carson right there, that is a 2-car lane driveway that goes up to B right there. And I did do my research on the ADA, and you can put an ADA parking spot there on the side street, so that all you would be doing is going up that ramp where there's no stairs to begin with. So it seems to me that for a wheelchair, the access would be a lot easier in 25 feet than it would be going through the school and around that way. So I think we need to look at a couple more of these costs that aren't making sense. But I don't know who put it together. Like, once again, it's just sitting on the counter out there. So if I could look at it a little closer, I'm sure I could figure out where these come from. But the extra asphalt doesn't make sense to me to put volleyball or handball courts in right away, as well as the access. So just a couple of the things I wanted to bring up right away. Mostly the property value decline, and how would we address that?
What I'll do is, I think some of those questions are a little rhetorical. I don't know how to answer the property value question, because I'll retort that probably having a really good school district helps your property values.
I brought that
to the
up.
opposite. So, I can't deal with that necessarily. And the view things are a little interesting, only because, as being a former city councilman, the only place where views are protected is actually in the Riviera. But we're trying to be accommodating here, and that's really what we're trying to do.
No, I
is to be very
appreciate it.
accommodating, to be able to come up with an equitable solution for everybody on Carmen and Ladine, and see where all the options are. And the costs were laid out really at the direction of this board to know what this is. Because again, the voters entrusted us with the better part of $500 million over the last 6 years. And as I said in an email to somebody, that, we got a fiduciary responsibility to all the citizens of Torrance to end up with the best possible project. That doesn't mean people win or lose at our whim. We try to be very involved. I mean, when we went through this process on March 31st, we noticed everybody in the neighborhoods. The homeowners association noticed everybody in the neighborhood. The Daily Breeze ran an article on it. I drove our public information officer nuts, making sure that everybody was notified at that time. So, we're trying to be very accommodating. I hope everybody understands that, and to be able to revisit this. But I think the sewer line, the asphalt, and the ADA questions, probably what I'll do is write down everybody's questions and then bring the architect up at one time to kind of go through those.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Thank you. Okay.
Carol Eubanks, and after that, Becky Clark.
I spent most of today doing a survey of Ladine Avenue. Would you like to have the survey?
Yeah, you can give it to, and they'll pass it up.
I went to each house, asked them whether they...
Oh, can you be a little closer to the mic? So, yeah.
I thought I was still at home. I went to each house and asked them from the corner house on up to Howard's house. Howard's here. It's about he's the third one down. If they had any objections to B, and none of them did. They said whatever the kids need, whatever they're thrilled to have the gym for the children. But they also would not like their neighbors on Carmen to be affected as badly as they're going to be if you had it where it was going to be before. So that was my job today. I'm thrilled that we're going to have the gym. I have 5 grandchildren that will use it. And they all live in the area, sort of near Don Lee.
Yes,
So he knows my
they live right
kids.
down the street.
They do. But I really would like to see it at B. That would be my preference. And I think there's some cost savings you could do with that list that they made there. I don't know that for sure. I'm not technical. But, so my vote is for B. But thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Becky Clark now, and after that, Larry Jones.
Hi, my name's Becky Clark. I sent the board members a copy of the petition that we had from Carmen Street, and there's 50-plus people, not only all of our street, but Talisman, everyone that would be affected by this mostly. I prepared this so I didn't waste your time, but I'm a resident of Carmen Street. My parents are original owners, so we've been at this location since 1956, so just shy of 60 years. We're involved citizens, both in the schools and the community, so we really care about the schools and the community. We appreciate the need for the new gym and the benefits to the school and hopefully to the community. Our hope, though, is to minimize the impact to all residents. Placing the gym in the middle of the campus, closest to Carmen Street, just doesn't seem like the best option. Yes, we are very concerned about the loss of our view that we've had for almost 60 years. But we also are concerned about the increase of traffic on our streets, the additional lighting that will be required for safety at night, the after-school hours noise so close to our homes, the loss of existing basketball courts that use both during and after school. You also mentioned about the volleyball courts, but the basketball courts are the ones that are used the most. The disruption of the flow of campus, it still is a huge issue. The teachers will not have line of sight for anybody back there, and that's a safety concern. So we're really concerned about that. You also have approved this new science labs, which if you add the science labs and the gym there, then you're not going to have anything. They're just creating an alleyway back there for potential crime for us after school hours. So we're concerned about that because it's just asking for trouble from the residents. If you move the gym closer to Carson, that part of campus is used the least. Right now, there's a construction zone there that will probably be there, I don't know how many months. But if that was a used area of the campus, maybe they wouldn't have put that there. The location doesn't affect the flow of the grounds, so it allows for proper line of sight to monitor students during the day. There's already much more lighting at Carson, because that should be part of the plan. The increase in noise would be minimized due to the existing traffic flow that's already on Carson. The homes that border the campus would still be able to see the activity after hours, and we could still assist the Torrance Police Department in reporting any suspicious activity, which we're active members and we always are watching out for our school. As Carol did so graciously today, all the residents on Ladine that border that school have agreed, and they're fine with the school being, the gym being down there. And I went down to the city hall and pulled where the sewer lines are. The sewer lines are all already on Carson. That's where
I can probably solve, we're talking about the sewer lines on the school site.
which are all accessed right now on Carson, and in order to do new sewer lines, they have to have a new site. That's what the city hall told me.
We have different architects, but I'll have our architect talk about that.
The clean water is assessed at the corners, the corners of those sites. And power, since it's they're public utilities, I don't know, I didn't call every public utility. I didn't know what was gonna be run. But since you're having bathrooms in those gyms, you need sewer, and that is accessed by Carson. I actually have the map. I'm not sure what the total cost of this new gym is, and I do not understand how, why we would, if we're getting a gym, we're gonna spend $20,000 to put ball walls back. I mean, we want the gym, that's fine, we're fine with it. And I really don't understand that $45,000 of new asphalt. That just blows me away. But I'm having issues with some of those additional costs, so maybe we make some concessions about the ball walls and also the volleyball courts. It's $2,000, but the basketball courts are used more, and I understand that volleyball courts will be inside the gym on a rotational basis. I'm not sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Larry Jones, and then after that will be Suzanne Marhala? Oh, okay. Didn't know how to deal with the J.
Good evening. I'm not in favor of the gym, but I realize that that's a moot point that it's going to be. So I would like to express my support for the comments that have been made by my neighbors. My name is Larry Jones. I live at 4114 Carmen Street, so the school is in my backyard. And I'd like to say the school has been, a good neighbor. especially under the new principal. I've noticed the litter problem that used to exist has virtually gone away. So I'm not at all adverse to that. In fact, I'm married to an educator. I understand the challenges that educators have. But it seems to me that there's a couple of things that have not been taken into consideration that are very important, and one that Becky brought up is very important to me. We have a very tight-knit and very supportive little neighborhood, and it's not leave it to Beaver, but it's close. We actually care about each other. It's very quiet, it's very peaceful. 2 times a day right now, in the morning and in the afternoon, when the children are dropped off and when they're picked up, the neighborhood changes dramatically. Now, we've learned to live with that, but right now at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it goes back to Beaver type of environment. With the inception of this gymnasium, I fear, and we fear, that our entire lifestyle is going to be impacted. And the safety issues are paramount to me. I don't recognize anyone in this board, having been walking around Carmen Street and the neighborhood for 20 years, haven't seen any of you folks out there at the times when these drop-offs and pickups are occurring.
Mr. Jones, I live right across the street.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
What's your address?
21806 Grant, so I'm right across Carson. I
Well,
see
then
it
you know
happen.
the world-famous Carmen yard street, or yard sale. Thank you. So anyway, with the inception of this gymnasium in the evenings, there's going to be a change in our lifestyles. And I would like to ask the board to make sure that we have some additional police protection or patrols around there, because right now it's already dangerous. The parents drive up and down our streets, sometimes 40 miles an hour at least, and the children that live on our street and that live on other streets are put in danger. And I am very concerned about this, and I don't think the board wants to be responsible for anyone having a critical injury or even, God forbid, a death. So I'm concerned about the safety, I'm concerned about the change in our lifestyles, and I believe that the location B will have less impact on us than the location A.
Mr. Jones, I'll just, so that we get our political subdivisions correct. If you want, because I noticed in a couple of emails, things about speed bumps and parking restrictions and enforcement issues, those fall within the city of Torrance. We don't dictate how they operate the streets, and they don't dictate often how we operate the schools. So there has been a lot of extra enforcement around school sites. Certainly the principal can help you with that, because I know that's been a big concern around all of our school sites. Speed bumps, those kinds of things are all within the privy of those people that meet over on Torrance Boulevard. So we try to manage the traffic flow within the areas of which we have control over. But if there's extra that you want or extra enforcement, you know, the Torrance Police Department will be happy to talk to you about those things, and you can interface with them. But know that we can't tell the city to lower the speed limit to 15, and we can't put a speed bump out there like that. What we can do, you know, is control everything within our space.
Well, what you can't control, I think you'll admit, is that as of right now, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we go back to the quiet little neighborhood that we've invested our lives in. That is about to change, and it's going to change forever, because there are going to be venues that are going to go on in this new gymnasium. There'll be everything from dances to ball games to meetings. It's going to be a magnet for the other Torrance middle schools. They're going to come into our neighborhood.
Every middle school will be getting their own gym, so that you know that every middle school in the city of in Torrance will get their own gym. They'll all be exactly the same.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, and so that's going to happen. And then the extracurricular activities that are planned for this are no different than the current extracurricular activities. There's no additional programs that are going to be planned for this gym. We decide who uses that gym, when they use it, and how they use it. The school will use it during the normal course of the day, and then it will be up to this board to decide who uses it in the evenings, whether the city uses it or not. In fact, at the meeting that we had on March 31st, one of the ideas that we had talked about was, given that location A did create some issues, we were aware of that as we worked our way through it. And Mr. Jones, I want you to know that we spent the better part of 50 minutes trying to come up with a solution here. So I want you to know that we care a lot about this site, okay? But one of the options that came up was Torrance Unified School, the city of Torrance has a basketball program. It's probably their most popular program for kids in the city. And they will use our facilities from time to time. And one of the things that we had talked about as a concession for the neighbors on Carmen and on Talisman and on Ladine was to basically say that, no, the city of Torrance cannot use this gym because of the concerns of the neighborhoods. So.
In the evening.
In the evenings and those kinds of areas. So that was one of the things that we had talked about. So I'm a little concerned about your tone because we have spent a ton of time sorting through this. And I want you to know that we take all of that very importantly and that the voters of Torrance saw a need for gyms. They voted for them. Every single middle school will get a gym that's exactly the same as this one, and we will spend the time necessary to get them sited in the right place.
So can you give us some assurance then that this is not going to become an evening, evening venue for all kinds of activities?
I can give you, Mr. Jones, I can give you the assurances that this board will take that very seriously because I can't speak for the other 4 people. So we'll get through this process and we'll come up with an acceptable solution for everybody concerned. But I can't, we're not in the business of giving, you're asking us to do things we can't do. So we can work the problem, we can work it out, but I just am a little concerned that I wanted to make sure you knew how we got here because it seemed like you did not know all the steps that we had gotten to get here. This is a reconsideration on an item in which we had notified the neighborhoods and done what we a little over and above what we normally do to let everybody in the neighborhood know about it. So we're here as a reconsideration. We're going to reconsider it as if it's brand new. We're going to take everybody's input in here. I just can't give you blanket assurances from here that nothing's ever going to happen because quite honestly, I may not be here forever. And the people in this room may not be here forever. So that's why we're going to come up with the best possible location for that gym tonight.
Well, I wasn't as informed as apparently, was everybody else as well informed as the gentleman is saying you were? I wasn't. I know Tom wasn't.
Well, let me tell you.
I've lived there for 20 years.
Okay, Mr. Jones, and we'll end with this because I made sure myself personally, and Val and Rebecca will back me up on this, that everybody within the 300-foot radius of the school site was mailed a notice. The Homeowners Association did a front page article about this, in fact, site, because I talked to the president of the Homeowners Association about it, and that was delivered that weekend because it was on my doorstep across the street. And there was a Daily Breeze article about it as well the week before. So that's why I said that we're doing this again because people can miss things. But that was the level of notification that we had done to make sure that we take this very seriously. So to make sure that everybody in the neighborhood knew what was going to go on. Now, in fact, for this meeting, you were noticed again because it was going to come up again because it was going to be the architectural part of it and not the site. Your neighbors got into contact with the board agreed with them that we would reconsider the item again.
Well, what we're primarily concerned about is the change in our lifestyles that we have invested in and that we have this is going to impact us primarily if it turns into an evening venue where there's all kinds of activities going on, which doesn't occur right now. Right now, the school is a good neighbor, and we're more than happy to have the gymnasium placed in the B position. But if this turns into something that where every night our streets are packed and with cars driving up and down
I kind of let you go a little longer than most, so thank you very much. Suzanne?
Yes. Thank you. I'll be brief. My name is Suzanne Margela, and I've lived in my home on Talisman Street, 3 doors from the school for 41 years. My husband and I graduated from South High. My children graduated from West High. My grandchildren are now going to Anza and Jefferson School and West High. I would like the board to consider this. I'm just going to read it. We are Torrance Unified's and Jefferson's best friends. As neighbors, we have stopped break-ins, cleaned trash from our front and backyards from the school and cleaned the school, clipped ivy at Jefferson, helped paint Jefferson, given money for equipment, had to paint the back of our house due to graffiti from students at Jefferson, called over and over during summer break when some of your pipes broke and were flooding out on Carson and flooding the back of my house with the sprinklers. Returned lost items, had to endure massive traffic problems. But we have also bandaged scraped knees, stopped fights, stopped cursing on our blocks, stopped bullying, called children's parents for them, soothed those in tears, and given encouragement with a smile and a friendly hello that those children going to and from school that looked down that day. As Jefferson's neighbors, we have been here for 10, 20, 30, 41, and 60 years almost. We would just like you to know, with the surveys taken, almost every neighbor directly affected prefer Plan B because it would least impact us with lights at night. My house is directly looking into the backyard there. 3 doors on Talisman up from the school. I'm looking right onto the field where now there are going to be new science buildings and where you propose a gymnasium. We feel the best place would be B. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, we're out of cards. Okay, let me bring Mr. Miller up for a second just to answer a couple of these questions. The sewer line, the asphalt, and the ADA.
Okay, so let's start with the sewer line. The sewer line, we are a state site. We are not a city site. If we have sewer lines, if we have storm drain lines on site, we can connect to them with new utilities as needed, as the school board and the school district decide. We do not have to go through the city to make those connections. If we go to Carson, we do have to go to the city because we will be now tying into the city site, and that's going to increase costs significantly because what the city will require is us to not only come and connect to the middle of the street, they also make you fix the street a certain distance in each direction from your tie-in. So it'll be significantly more expensive than the sewer line that we're proposing to run on-site, which consists of 100 feet of sewer line on-site, which is only $5,200. If we connected to Carson, it would probably be closer to $10,000 to $15,000. So it's not a viable solution for that purpose, because then we'd have to also pull city permits and other items dealing with the city, as where with the state, we do not have to do those items.
So you want to connect to a sewer line that's on-site that is already
mic's off.
connected into? You want to connect to a sewer line on-site that is already tied in? So you don't have to pay those extra fees and that asphalt? Okay.
Correct. The ADA issue, we talked about that previously. Even if there was an ADA stall that could be placed along Carson, the gentleman's suggestion of using the ramp that's there would be invalid. As anyone knows with ADA experience, you need a ramp that's between 5 to 8%. You need handrails, and you can only go up 1 inch in every 12 inches. So that ramp that's currently there, although it is a ramp, it is not ADA accessible. To put in an ADA accessible ramp in that location would run you more than $100,000.
Thank you. And then the asphalt question.
The asphalt question, the reason that we do not need to provide it as part of option A is that the school has, we've made the concession that there would be basketball courts inside the gymnasium, and they are willing to accept that concession of not providing of not accommodating additional basketball courts outside. However, with the volleyball courts and the ball walls obviously we cannot provide inside a gymnasium. The volleyball courts, there's only a few to begin with that are outside. They would not be able to accommodate a full PE class inside the gymnasium, so they do need their volleyball courts outside. Basketball is a little bit different. So that's the reason why option B, we have to replace those items so that they can run their PE program, they can have the facilities that all of the other middle schools throughout the district have. And option A, we don't need to do any of those items because of the basketball courts inside the gymnasium.
Okay, good.
Also, one comment on the ball walls, and again, our principal is here. We did discuss, are the ball walls necessary? Do your students use the ball walls? And the answer is yes. And yes, they want the ball walls to be reproduced.
Yeah, they seem to get a lot of use even on the weekends, because that's probably the part of the school site that I see the most. And it seems like I see a lot of kids out there throwing a baseball against it, or a tennis ball, or that kind of stuff. So it seems like there is, because I had initially thought, well, what's a ball wall in the middle school? And then noticed that at least it seems like the community uses it a lot anyway, so.
Yes, and there's also one other point with the ball walls. There is some sentimentality connected with that from the citizens who built them. So our principal asked that, I did provide that information to you, that, they have a concern, some of the members of the community who actually built those, of those ball walls being destroyed.
Okay. Mr. Stefan and then Mrs. Reagans.
Yeah, I'm looking at the, it was mentioned about the price of the ball walls. Are these gonna be, the replacements gonna be concrete ball walls that need to be DSA approved because they're a certain height?
Of course, yeah,
I mean, in the old days, you can go in there and throw up a wooden thing, but DSA now requires after a certain height because it's a sail of some sort, right?
Correct. Anything that's over, for a solid wall, it would have to be anything over 4 feet tall. That will be reviewed by the state to make it sure that it's structurally sound. Which case, obviously, a ball wall will be well over 4 feet tall. They're actually about 13 feet tall.
Yeah, they do come with a price tag.
Right.
Because of that.
Correct. And they also are, 13 feet tall by, 18 feet long, so.
Good. Mrs. Reagans.
Yeah, is there any potential for those ball walls to be moved rather than destroyed and rebuilt?
No, not through the state. They're actually, in order to remove those and relocate them, we'd have to somehow crane and pick up the whole thing and somehow put it back down and get the state to buy off on that. But I'd be lying to you if I said if it's a real possibility. It'd be more expensive to probably try to do that than it would be to just build a new ball wall. And their masonry too, as Dr. Mannon said, and the masonry would have with a concrete foundation that they have, and then the masonry on top. Trying to crane them, they would break apart probably.
And the odds of approval, you're saying, are not good?
Odds of approval are very slim because obviously we don't know how those ball walls were constructed, and the state would want to know what the rebar was inside of the masonry unit, and we wouldn't have that information available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no more lights. One question, and this is, I'm going to say it even though everybody up here has discussed it at one time or another, is the bathrooms cost, what, about $100, and the building has a bathroom in it. In fact, we're doing this a little backwards because actually we're going to look at the design of the building and a couple of items. But I know one of the alternatives in that is to eliminate the bathrooms in the gym.
Yes, and there is about $180,000 for the restrooms. Mr. Miller provided that for me as an estimate. One of the alternatives that the board could certainly do is to eliminate the restrooms. However, as Mr. Lee knows very well, in our campaign, we made it very clear that equity was an issue. And that's why every middle school would have a gym. That was a part of the equity issue, since Hall Middle School has a gym. So my suggestion is, should the board want to take that action, eliminate the restrooms, and we eliminate the restrooms for all.
I'm not quite ready to go there, but I'm willing to at least look at it here. I probably, we'll take the slings and arrows for lack of equity on that issue with bathrooms relatively close to B, but let's see where the rest of the board is.
Within 200 feet is the requirement.
Okay, good. So, Mrs. Deutsch.
No, I just wanted to clarify that Hull then does not have restrooms, correct?
Hall Middle School does not have restrooms.
Okay.
In the gym. The
In the
rest of
gym.
the school has
Yeah,
restrooms.
but there are restrooms within 200 feet at the gym.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, they're really, really close, aren't they? if I remember
Are they at
correctly?
the end of that first?
The restrooms at Hull are right across from
Yeah.
the gym, probably 45, 50 feet.
If not, yeah.
I still had another question.
Mrs. Deutsch.
Okay, so, and if I'm looking at this diagram, the B site, where are the restrooms? Right here at the end of the building? Okay.
Right.
And if I was looking at the A site, where would the restrooms be?
In the,
Well, the gymnasium that we will be presenting to you later on will show the floor plan that's been designed by your middle school gymnasium committee, and they have put restrooms in the gymnasium. So as of right now, the presentation I'll show you in a little bit, the gymnasiums would have restrooms, all 7 of them, inside. If the restrooms are somehow, let's say, eliminated, both A and B have them relatively close by for Jefferson. But remember, the other 7 sites, like I'm just knowing Casimir, where we chose to put that gymnasium, which is beyond the asphalt. So the closest building is getting close to that 200-foot limit. You know, it's going to be a site-by-site element of where it will be closest to restrooms. You know, Jefferson may have it closer, Casimir has it very far away. So that hence why the committee was, and we'll get into that in the next presentation, trying to accommodate all 7 schools with the floor plan that's going to be presented to you.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to say one thing, I just want to clear up, I heard it through there, is that as the architect of the Measure YZ project, the science labs are not going in the green space above. They're actually taking out and eliminating those 4 portables that are below the 2 portables. So they're going in the same location that buildings are currently at. So there will not be any increased traffic, so to say, either behind the portables in the green space or on campus at all, because they're eliminating buildings that we are taking away and putting new ones in their place.
thank you for the clarification.
Correct.
Those 4 right there,
Yes,
the ones just south of the 2.
correct.
Oh, okay, very good.
Okay, so we have heard the comments, we have heard the architects, we have heard staff, so now it is up to us. Anybody gonna take a stab at a motion? Okay, I will. I mean, I guess it's a little, unless somebody wants to.
Huh?
Well, okay, good. Then I will make a motion from the center chair to move it to B, eliminate the bathrooms.
Second.
Okay, now,
Discussion.
so now we discussed
Now we
that.
got a discussion.
So you mentioned that you would recommend we eliminate them at all sites.
No, I
No,
recommend.
that was the doctor's recommendation if we passed.
That is correct.
Equity.
And
Unless
when we,
there's
when we get to the design piece, on your, we can talk about that for all schools, but I did bring that up. And the reason is, when Mr. Miller goes through that presentation, the discussion with the design committee was the value of each piece that's a part of the middle school gym. And I'll say this again, the least valuable to the committee are restrooms in the gym. And I'll say that when we do the design.
The least valuable element of the design are the restrooms.
Correct, according to the middle school gym committee.
But we would still be free later on if we had a situation where the location was beyond the 250, 300 feet to include it.
No, not what you said.
I mean, that's,
I would not suggest that you did, that you would do that.
So let me see if I clarify.
Well, let
It's
me,
all
Mrs.
or
Deutsch
nothing.
turned on her light, and then I'll go to you, Mr. Wormer.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wormers. Do you have any idea of all of the middle school sites we're gonna be adding the gyms, of any that potentially could be further than the 200 feet that was just mentioned, that is a requirement?
No, but I have to qualify that because in some instances, they're probably going to be closer than others.
Okay.
In some instances, I think you're going to find some sites that are much more compact than Jefferson in terms of where that gym would go with that. So I can't, we have not cited any of the others.
Okay.
You know, I think Mr. Wormers was asking, my position would be, and certainly the board can always make that decision, that Mr. Steffen was asking about, that we may add one because there's an issue at some particular campus. Certainly the board can do that. I just think it's cleaner, especially since Hull Middle School, our first gym, does not have restrooms. We've operated that school now for 2 or 3 years. It's been no problem with that school. So that it's just the same design at all of our school sites.
Mr. Wormers.
I concur that it's the same design, all the school sites without the restrooms, but as Mr. Miller pointed out, the Casimir site, I don't even know where the restrooms are near where we slated that gym. I can't envision, they must be at the far end, the far east end of that last wing.
I believe you're correct, and we could go back and actually do the measurement on that. But if you'll remember, I think the board's action gave us a little bit of leadway in terms of footage as to where to actually cite that.
Yeah, we just kicked it from the front to the back.
Exactly, yeah.
I
So
understand that.
so if there's a problem, we can move a little bit on
Right.
that.
I understand why we didn't put restrooms at Hull, and I understand the equity issue. However, I have a hard time envisioning gymnasiums without a restroom. At Hull, it's pretty easy. It's literally across a little walkway. In fact, you could probably even do it without getting outside if it's raining, because there's covers right there. Elsewhere, I don't think we're gonna have that same flexibility, so I'm somewhat opposed to eliminating restrooms, especially since they seem to fit in the design so well. Is it only A or B, Mr. Lee? Is that the only choices we're looking at?
I think we can put it almost anywhere. I mean, it's just citing is what we're talking about.
Because, again, I'm looking at trying to find some kind of compromise that doesn't cost us $100,000 and still can make some of the residents, yeah, you may cuss our names later, but at least we've tried to get it to, it's no longer in your backyard. I stood in Val's backyard, I saw exactly what she was talking about. If we could kick it further south without impacting the school, the principals here, we get some input. I mean, I'm looking for something other than just A or B, yes or no. I know, Don, you've taught me, we were very good at multiple choice and very bad at essay questions. I've learned that from Mr. Lee. But I'm looking for something more than just A or B, I guess.
Well, I think if you try to move A, Mr. Miller's responded to that. Then you've got, you know, site supervision line issue.
I understand.
We walked B, so we've been over there. I'm not sure how you actually move B, quite honestly, and I'm not sure anywhere along that continuum between A and B then creates splitting, as Mr. Miller indicated, splitting the courts and therefore creating a problem during physical education for the physical education teachers to be able to handle the number of kids they have in PE classes. So if you move along any of that continuum, we've just simply broken up the courts and creating a problem then for our PE teachers from a supervision standpoint.
Mrs. Reagans.
Yeah, actually, I'm trying to look at this aesthetically also. So Jesse, can you remind me the height of the gym building that we're talking about?
30 feet.
Yeah, it's roughly 30 to 33 feet, depending on the parapet
Okay,
size.
so everybody hear that, 30 to 33 feet. And the trees that would be next to it along Carson, any idea what the height of those?
I do
you've
not
been
off
there?
the top of my
They're
head.
taller than
But
that.
they'll be taller than that, 30,
That's
33
what I thought.
feet.
And then
so.
the school building, that's the existing school building that would be at the end of?
That one is about, at its tallest point, about 16, 17 feet.
Okay,
So roughly half the size.
okay. So with that in mind, aesthetically, it seems to fit in that niche too, because the trees will be there to sort of balance it out on that end, and it won't just be a 30-foot building sticking up in the middle of a field. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Steffen?
Okay, this may be very well be left to the presentation of the design. But since we're gonna put it right at the public street, you know, now it becomes the main architectural feature of, as you pass by that thing. So I'm looking at the very sides of these things, which you'll show us later. But what would we present to the people passing by? I mean, you may wanna wait until the next one. That's up to you. I mean,
Yeah, he can show you exactly how it has to be sited at the Jefferson site.
Okay, as somebody who lives directly across the street from it, literally directly across the street, I think actually, because I don't know if anybody wants to stay for another half hour to see what it's gonna look like. I think it's architecturally a far more interesting building than the 55-year-old school buildings that have been there that I went to, that everybody else has gone to. So I think actually, and in fact, as somebody who was intimately involved in these bond campaigns, I'm always a fan of putting something out towards the street so that people can see what they paid for.
But now it's gonna block your view of the school. We gotta talk about you now.
I'm perfectly okay. I can kind of look around the other way, I guess. Okay, well.
Sorry, couldn't resist.
Well, it's gonna mess up the cricket players on Sunday, but I think they can adapt. They've had to, it was.
Nobody understands.
Because everybody's in the
cricket anyway.
neighborhood, you know, the cricket players showed up last Sunday and all that stuff was there and they all stood in the street for a good half hour, 40 minutes trying to figure out where they were gonna get the cricket field to work, but they worked it out. I went over and watched them for a while. So, anyway, in fact, there's an ESPN channel devoted to cricket.
Well, there you go.
I found that too, so I could better understand it.
Nobody
So, but
understands it.
I'm thinking that honestly, as I digressed, that it'll be architecturally interesting from that side. And I think it's a way to show the community, much like Hall shows the community, just like the football stadiums, about a lot of other things, the fronts of the school. I remember when we went through the process, that we wanted the fronts of the school to look like we've done something to them. So when you look at Jefferson when it's done, it's gonna look really nice from the front and those kinds of things. So I think this is maybe an opportunity to do that. And I'm not adverse to making an isolated decision in this vote for the bathrooms. We may make a global vote in a few minutes, but at least in this case, because the bathrooms are literally close, I can't quite tell, but, you know, probably they're 10 feet, 20 feet at the most.
I'd say a little over 20.
Okay, so I don't think that's gonna be a problem for this site, and as long as that driveway works and we can get equipment in and around there, then I really don't have a problem with that. My concern before was that access gate and getting things in and out, and if we can work around that, then I'm pretty good with it. So we have a motion, we have a second, and I have another light from Mr. Steffen.
My only concern is if we find ourselves at another site that doesn't meet that requirement of distance to bathroom travel, that we have to have the ability to say,
But that's the next item. We don't have to make that decision now.
Well, I mean, no, I don't, are we gonna lock, well, next item, I guess, are we gonna lock ourselves into one design?
Well, I think that's a question for the next
You
item.
have-
We're
Okay, very
dealing
good.
with
We'll have to the
Jefferson,
next-
You
here,
have two
that
designs.
site, no bathroom, and then we'll deal with how it looks
Got it.
in a little bit.
All right.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Do we want me to roll call this, or do you want me just to say all those in favor?
Excuse me, can you repeat the motion, please?
The motion is to cite it on B and have the building to offset the additional cost to eliminate the bathrooms. And that was seconded by Mrs. Reagan's.
No, roll call.
Okay, let's go roll call, then I'll go left.
No,
to-
I meant.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
I am.
Okay, so 4-1, B is the site. So now we got a couple of more items on the agenda, and then we'll go show the pretty pictures of what it's gonna look like. So, next item, please stay. Rumor is we're on TV somewhere. Okay, item number 3, approval of the Torrance Unified School District, School Employees Association, CSEA, Chapter 19, collective bargaining agreement and the public disclosure of said agreement. Do I have a motion and a second?
I so move.
Second.
Dr. Stabler.
Yes, through our negotiations with CSEA 19, we came to an agreement that was 1.9% salary increase plus 1.1% for an anniversary, but they have a Me Too agreement in their collective bargaining agreement, and that'll come up later. But what you're approving is a 1.9 and 0.1, but then they would also, they're eligible for the Me Too.
Okay, good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 4, approval of Torrance Unified School District, SEIU Local 99 Collective Bargaining Agreement and the public disclosure of said agreement. Dr. Stabler.
Yes, this is why I mentioned the Me Too, because in our negotiations with SEIU Local 99, the tentative agreement that they have voted on, what I'm bringing to you for your ratification is a 3.45% salary increase. So with that in mind, CSEA 845 and CSEA 19 would both get the same 3.45.
Okay, we have a motion, and no, we don't have a motion, so I need a motion and a second.
I move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Item number 5, approval of salary increase for certificated management and classified management supervisory, confidential, campus security, and hourly classified employees. Do I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Stabler.
Yes, management, certificated and classified management cabinet and unrepresented are being offered the same 3.45% salary increase in this motion.
Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We quickly get back to the gyms. Item number 6, presentation of our proposed Torrance Unified School District Middle School Gymnasium floor plan and exterior elevations options for Cali Mayer Middle School, Cashmere Middle School, Jefferson Middle School, Lynn Middle School, Madrona Middle School, Magruder Middle School, and Richardson Middle School. Measure U discussion only.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Miller's coming back up. This is an item that we're bringing to you tonight. We are pretty much completed with schematic design, that phase. We want to make sure that we're providing this to the board, and the board provides us any feedback on the designs. I will say, Mr. Miller has been an architect with HMC. He's worked with us on measures Y and Z, and tonight is his last night, as Mr. Miller is, departing not only HMC, but California, and is going to the Big D, Dallas, Texas. So this is his last presentation.
They do. That's one of the big draws.
Yeah, it's all in the air with the humidity at 85%.
You're leaving California, you
Yep.
lucky devil.
Yep.
I don't know, I like it here.
I've lived elsewhere.
Yeah, God,
You running again?
I don't think so. So anyway, Mr. Miller.
Certainly not in your rotation.
Okay, so what we've got, as Dr. Menon pointed out, what we've got to you tonight is we've got 2 floor plan options and 2 exterior elevation options for your consideration. We have met, I believe we went, Dr. Menon, was it 5 or 6 meetings? 6 meetings with a site committee that was put together by Dr. Menon that represented multiple individuals throughout the middle school campuses in Torrance that consisted of that committee. They were heavily involved, and it is basically their design, that they wanted to see implemented in these gymnasiums that would work for them and for their schools as a whole, for all 7 of Torrance Unified. So we do want to go through this, and then we have a little movie presentation for you at the end. But we'd like to show you Exhibit A. This is the gymnasium. This is the Cadillac version. You'll see Exhibit B after this. What this contains is a gymnasium similar to Hull Middle School's size. The big exception inside the gymnasium is this option is showing a location at the north side of this plan for bleachers that would accommodate up to 300, just under 300 seat capacity. There is 2 locker rooms that would accommodate 445 lockers per sex. That would accommodate more than any middle school's current enrollment, but it would allow for possible future, if there's any future increase in any of the middle school campuses, or if there's, you know, a situation where there's just so many more boys in one year than girls, you know, there would be that flex space to be able to accommodate each student to have a PE locker. There's 3 offices that would eliminate all the PE offices throughout the rest of campus. They'd then move to the gymnasium as their opportunity and then free up the space elsewhere on campus that's currently their offices. There's the boys and girls restrooms that we mentioned earlier. And then an indoor storage room / janitorial closet. The one big thing that is added in both of these options was by the committee was the need for storage. And so what we've provided is an outdoor service yard area where, you know, we can put those land sea containers that you see all over the place. In this case, a block wall would, you know, hide that visually, so that, you know, it wouldn't affect the visual appeal of the campus, but they'd still allow adequate size to put 2 of these storage containers for, you know, tables, chairs, whatever kind of necessities they need for their gymnasium program. So this is Exhibit A. Its total square footage is about 76 or just under 7,700 square feet, and this is showing what the gymnasium would look like with the bleachers in its space. Now, Hull Middle School does not contain the bleachers, so this would be an add-on that the other 7 campuses would have, that Hull would not have.
Okay.
And just a couple of comments for the board. By the way, Mrs. Heinrich, who's the principal of Jefferson Middle School, is also a part of the design committee. The reason that the design committee felt strongly about bleachers is not necessarily because of, as you know, we don't have athletics at the middle school level. But many of our middle schools have really small cafetoriums. Richardson Middle School comes to mind. Mr. Lee and I were up there last year, and you know, we had people 3-4 rows back outside because they couldn't get close to that. So for activities during the school day, for the school, by adding the bleachers and then being able to put chairs on the floor, this then allows them a space that they could have potentially up to 900 people, which is larger than the total population of any of our middle schools. And that was very important to them, for the committee as a whole, because that allows them so much more flexibility. The reason for the service yard is, again, it will be screened, so you really wouldn't see it, but the sea containers would contain where they can put their chairs. Rather than carrying chairs cross campus, store them right here. They have them available. Should they have an event, they can just pull them out right there. So that's important. I think, you know, the board just took out the girls and boys restroom for Jefferson. The easy flip for the architect, should you choose option A, and this is option A, and the committee recommends option A, by the way, is that the storage would simply flip from one side to the other side, so that you would end up having a clean wall there without the girls' and boys' restrooms. And that's an easy flip for the architect to do. But again, the committee, and I'm representing the committee, wanted to ensure that I presented that option A is the option they support. And they did go through the process, as I discussed with Mr. Steffen, that of that design, their least valuable piece was the girls' and boys' restrooms, because the other pieces they believe are so valuable to their program.
I got some lights on, so maybe I'll take these now. Mr. Steffen?
Just what's the cost difference between adding the bleachers, adding that extra space, just curiosity?
The cost difference, and that's one of the big things that you'll see between Exhibit A and Exhibit B. The difference is about 900 square feet of gymnasium space. So the overall cost difference is about $300,000.
So it's
Does
just,
that include the bleachers?
Yes.
Mrs. Reagans.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned the north side and south side. You're just saying that for,
Plan purposes, well, just so you can see like north being up and south being,
but not necessarily it has to be in that
correct.
orientation or anything. And then you mentioned the bleachers, but you didn't mention how many students could be accommodated in the bleachers just alone.
So just under 300.
Under 300,
Just
okay.
under 300. What Dr. Mannon was getting at is that when you load a gymnasium for occupancy per the California Building Code, the gymnasium that would contain the bleachers could hold almost a little over 900 people, including the required space on the floor and in the bleachers. Exhibit B, which I will show you in a second here, without the bleachers, can only accommodate just over 700. So in many middle school incidences, the enrollment is larger than that capacity. So as Dr. Mannon was mentioning about the assembly use or things of that nature, according to the state of California, you still wouldn't be able to fully hold an assembly in those spaces by code.
Okay, and then my other question is, this shows 3 different offices. Would there be any cost savings in doing a single office versus 3?
Absolutely.
That was discussed by the committee, though.
Mm-hmm.
And the committee actually wanted the 3, the offset being, they currently have offices in like relocatables. So we'll then free up those relocatables for students where they're currently only being used for offices.
And the number 3 was determined based on the different campuses. Some have 2 PE teachers, some have 3 PE teachers. So, we went with 3 because half the schools had 3. And there's as Dr. Stowe pointed out earlier about, other PE programs coming on and assistance and things of that nature. The ability to have that 3rd office at the ones that don't currently have the 3rd teacher would allow for expansion.
Okay, and just for the sake of clarity, the lockers that we're talking about are not full-size lockers for everything the student owns,
Correct.
but for like shoes and gym wear, more or less.
Yeah, shoes and gym wear, that way every student in Torrance would not have to, currently a lot of them participate in their everyday clothes, and so this would allow them, it's basically a 12 by 12 locker that'll allow you the shoes, a shirt, etc. You will have as part of your other bond measure items that were voted on by the voters of Torrance, we're replacing all school lockers at all the campuses. Those are your backpack lockers and things of that nature. So before going to PE class, they would obviously have to drop their backpack off at their normal larger size locker.
But they might be able to wear other shoes to run in the wet grass and not
Correct.
wear wet shoes all day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Mrs. Deutsch.
Just, the bleachers, are they retractable?
Correct.
Or they are, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the goal is to be retractable. You can kind of see really dashed in is the side basketball courts. So there'd be the main basketball court, which would be, your competition court or whatnot. And then there'd be 2 hoops on each side to allow, multiple, typically how a PE class would be is they'd run free throw lines and stuff of that nature. You'd be able to accommodate up to maybe 6 free throw lines in little tiny games, but, or at least 2 full games the other way, as opposed to the center way.
Yeah,
So,
Are the baskets going to be the retractable ones too, or are they just going to be freestanding?
no, sorry, this thing keeps coming off. The center court would have what you see currently at your high schools, the retractable ones. The side ones would be similar to also what's at some of your high schools, would be mounted to the walls.
Permanent?
Now, what we would do is probably on the bleacher side is we'd provide the mounted ones on the wall, but they'd be able to kind of fold into the wall. So when the bleachers are in use, they're not in the way of that top bleacher if someone's standing up or something of that nature.
I'm sorry, I have another question, sorry. The middle of the gym, will it have the holes for like volleyball?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we're not showing you is one of the other exercises that the committee went through is we went through an elaborate court striping plan for all 7 of the schools.
Right.
So what this gym will accommodate, and both options will accommodate the same number of courts. You see the main court striped here. There'll be a main basketball court, one main volleyball court. There'll be 3 practice volleyball courts running in the opposite direction. There'll be the 2 side basketball courts that run full court. And then there'll be 4 badminton courts also striped on there.
We have to, badminton's the best sport of all time. I love badminton. I missed that from middle school. That was fun.
So there's a lot of striping going on, and the committee has looked at this intensely from gym teachers and principals of what they all need in the gym to run a program on a rainy day or something. And, colors will select at an individual school level as far as a committee's level, but the layout is kind of decided and accommodates almost, every school's PE program.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Miller, I'm going to jump in with a question here, only because we're eliminating bathrooms at one of the locations. If I look at the front elevations, which we haven't gotten that far, but there's kind of an interesting architectural feature of kind of walking into a covered area and then into the doors, which is evidence in the bottom right-hand corner there. What would happen if you eliminated the bathrooms and just moved the offices over to that side instead of the service yard going on that side?
We haven't really.
Guess because that looks like the main entrance, so
Correct.
I wouldn't want the storage containers to be right there.
No, the service yard would stay at the back side of the gym to at least kind of try to break up the height of that back wall that won't have too much on it, as you'll see in the exterior elevations when we get to them in a minute. Another solution, as Dr. Mandan was actually speaking, I was thinking of, is that storage unit, the storage that's inside the gym, is part of the building, could just move down where the boys' bathroom is to at least keep that entrance piece, as you'll see in the next exhibit.
Okay.
The only reason keeping the offices on those other side, as you'll see in a minute, is a perfect example is Jefferson Middle School, which we were just talking about. Jefferson Middle School's orientation on this gymnasium would 90 degrees counterclockwise. So those 3 offices would face Carson. If we eliminated them at Jefferson, you'd have just a giant block wall there. So you'll see in the exterior elevation why we tried to keep the only large block wall towards the back of the building.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Steffen.
Just a dollar thing. By adding the bleachers, it's about 2.4 million times 8, at 300,000 times 8.
Yeah, we're still working on that estimate.
But that's still within the larger budget.
Well, we're still working on those estimates altogether as to where we are. Remember, we're only in schematic design. When we move in the next level after tonight's design development, that's when we're gonna hone down those costs.
Okay, so I mean, but we're comfortable, we think we're comfortable with the amount of dollars.
We're comfortable right now, but we might come back under design.
We're not, okay.
So I'll get to the next exhibit of the floor plan option if you want to turn the page in your packet. So this is what the gymnasium would look like if we eliminated the bleachers as well as went down to maybe one office. We could move the service yard off that back wall and have it on one of the sides. This option, obviously, as Dr. Manning pointed out, Exhibit A is the preferred one by the committee. The office here, one office for potentially 3 teachers isn't a great scenario because, who gets that one, right? But it still has the restrooms and it still has the indoor storage and the locker rooms, which were the big driving force because of, Hull Middle School's current configuration contains only the locker rooms and the storage. So this would be a lot more similar to what you currently have at Hull Middle School, with the exception of the 1 office and the 2 restrooms.
Okay.
No, we're still working on those.
Here's not.
Let's go to the elevations.
Okay. So this is, we're gonna elevate the first floor plan, the committee's selected choice for you. We're not gonna show you, at this time, elevations of the, smaller building. But we're gonna give you 2 options of architectural styles to select from of what Exhibit A could look like. that's been decided on upon the committee. We've presented numerous options through the committee, and they've kind of selected these two as ones they're comfortable with having at each one of their campuses. So Exhibit A, this is the main entry side. So as Mr. Lee pointed out, those restrooms are right there near that yellow wall. And that piece of the building, when we go around it, could be eliminated with the elimination of those restrooms, but we could move that storage down. The main construction of this building for the gymnasium would be CMU.
Nobody in this room knows what CMU
Okay.
is.
Concrete masonry units, blocks, basically.
Thank you.
The rest of the building would be wood frame construction, similar to your house. With
Tilt up? Is that what that is? Kind of the,
no, it's just block by block,
oh, okay.
right? Similar to, well, Hull's block. Yes. And what you're looking at now is your main entry to your gymnasium. The little ribbon windows would be where the changing rooms are. Those windows would be higher than anything that anyone could see in, obviously. And you can just see that front elevation provides a place for, right now we're showing a Jaguar, which is, symbolic of Jefferson, but, it could say, welcome to Jefferson Middle School, or something of that nature. Just a big place for like a graphic for the school to announce that this is kind of their gymnasium. As we turn the corner, if we just take Jefferson, for instance, since we were just talking about this would be the north elevation for Jefferson. This would be those restrooms that you see right there in the white. The gymnasium still, CMU, a few windows into it, but one of the nice things about the gymnasium that we are going to do that you'll see later in the movie is we will be providing skylights throughout to eliminate some of those windows, as well as provide light so that, district energy savings from the interior. As we work from this elevation, you can also see the back wall. So this is the back side of the gymnasium, and below it, you'll see that storage container area. You can see how it's covered so that the storage containers themselves wouldn't be visible, as we all know what those things can look like after 20 years. So helps to break it up a little bit. There's a little bit of graphic capabilities on that south side as well, just so it's not a complete block wall. And as we move around if we take Jefferson again, for example, this is the elevation that would face Carson. This is showing that other entrance if you look at those three windows that are there, that would be your offices on that side.
right.
The color palette, if we go back with the yellow there, would be indicative of the school color, right? So, each school was able to, has a trim color that corresponds to its new freshly painted YZ modernization school color. So some of them are yellow, some of them are, if you're on north side, you're on blue. If you're on, south side, you're kind of a greenish. If you're on west, you're kind of brown and stuff, and tan. So the colors would be able to be changed, and we'd work with the individual school sites to, pick colors. But this gives you an idea of the different shapes and volumes of the first option.
Okay, Mr. Stephan.
Yeah. What we're looking at now would be facing east towards the school.
Correct.
And then that's the main entrance.
Correct.
And so that'd be looking right at the bathroom. You walk out and there's that bathroom right there.
Yes.
Right, okay. Is there any way to take this side, which is the three opposite, because on this side is gonna be facing Carson. I don't know if you wanna show that up there. Is there any way to, obviously this has the architectural element that you'd want facing the school. And this, right? So,
That would make sense from a after-school hour use, but for a school use, they'd have to then be walking around all of the buildings.
I'm just saying this is what the public's gonna see every day.
Correct.
Right there. I don't need my paper. I was just wondering, not change what's there. They could be 3 offices, you know, maybe it's not the main entrance or anything like that, but just architecturally give it that same, I don't know, pizzazz or whatever that you have on that other side. I mean, more of a, I'm not saying switch parts of it around.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you were going with the switch parts of it, like.
No, I'm just saying
turning
that's what
around.
people are gonna see. That's what's gonna be as they drive by there.
I was
Yeah.
kind of thinking that maybe we could put some of the school
Corrugated.
graphic above what would be the window, the white architectural feature on the back above that, and maybe eliminate it on the opposite side, which I can't find right now because I got too many pieces of paper.
Right there.
But eliminate this one because really that, or even keep it for all that matters, but I mean, add something like this into that area above the, I guess, the coaches' offices and stuff on that side to kind of give it. Right now, when you look at that side of the school, there's a graphic on the side of the classrooms to the east of it that says Jaguars, and it's very nice. I suspect we're gonna paint the school, and that may go away, I don't know. But it would be nice to have a similar graphic on what would be the south-facing wall, not to redesign the building, but maybe something up there, and if we have to worry about eliminating something, then maybe eliminate it on the other side.
Yeah, graphics can be added. Again, the intent was to design one universal gymnasium for all 7 sites. So this is what the committee is, you know, we presented this option as the universal design. Now, colors, graphics, that stuff can be added on a site-by-site basis, depending on the location of the gymnasium. You know, as of right now, we only know the location for Casimir and Jefferson. So all the other 5 sites, we don't know which way is north, we don't know which way is south.
And we actually, Mr. Lee, believe that, and you made a really good point, because we believe that the school sites ought to be involved in the graphics and, you know, and how that's up there, yeah. So your point is well made, and as Mr. Miller indicated, that's no problem to do that. You want to do graphic above that where the solid brown is now, no problem.
I just like the way that it's boxed architecturally in the drawings on the 2 that you show, even though granted, you know, that looks, you know, if we paint something up there, then it looks like we painted something up there. If we box it like you did architecturally on, you know, on a couple of the elevations, like those, then those really kind of stand out. There's something to be proud of. They might even be lit for all we know. And it'd be something I think that would say, oh, there's Jefferson, that's the Jaguars, that's something nice. So, of course, you know, you've got a committee designing your project, which is your #1 nightmare. So, but that's
Every
kind of what
architect's
we're,
#1
yes. So, but that's kind of what was my comment.
Not after today.
Yes, that's right, you're leaving town, so you can leave it for the next guy. But, anybody else up here on any of this, kind of more of an information item than anything else? Oh, that's right, you got your movie.
Well, we got one more elevation to present, just so that we can kind of select a style and move forward with that type of architectural element. So that was Exhibit A's option 1. This is what it would look like, a little bit different, similar language, obviously, because we're working with the same floor plan, so the same spaces have to go vertical, right? Just different materials and some different items. So this is using more a panel system instead of the wood. The last one had a lot of the wood that you would see at the Hull Middle School site, kind of replicating that throughout the district. This one is more of a panel system on that element that's still, the block walls of the gymnasium is still block, and the rest is plaster. Still has that main gymnasium entrance, but you can see there is a little bit difference with the wood and the way that that's placed. Similar elevation on this side of the building. And this option shows, oh, actually this option does show what it would look like if we go with the, this option, I take it back, does go with the smaller gymnasium layout, but it could easily be implemented to the larger layout, the same architectural elements. That's why you see the back of this building doesn't have the storage unit. It just has the large wall and it has the doors, because the doors exit out on that side. And the side, like, so if we take Jefferson, for instance, this would be the side that would face Carson with this building option, where the block wall is on the south side for the outdoor storage, and that's that one office that we are presenting. So those are the two elevations that the committee has gone with. Their favorite was option A, architectural style of, you know, this one as opposed to the other one, but they, whichever the board decides, those were the two out of all the ones we've presented that they liked the best.
Okay, we had talked back way early in this process, I think even before the election, that we have schools, that some schools have an architectural style and some that don't. I think of the brick schools having more of a red brick kind of look to them and more of a low slung roof kind of look. You know, Jefferson's pretty typical of late 50s, early 60s stucco, get it done fast kind of plans, but there's not much to it. But while I don't think whatever you put at Jefferson is probably going to blend in pretty well, because there's no overriding design feature. But when I can think of some middle schools where brick is the predominant feature to the school, is there any way that when we do the concrete, I mean, when we do the concrete blocks and those kinds of things, can we bring those kinds of architectural styles into the building to maybe tie them into the rest of campus?
Absolutely. The CMU can be any different colors. We're just saying it's CMU. Right now, we're just showing a lot of grays and stuff because we want to work with the individual schools to actually get the colors of the buildings. It's more just the, you know, you can see the different elements if you want to introduce like the wood style that like Hull has. We can introduce that on one element. On this one, it has more of like a metal panel type element. But that's why we're showing even the plaster boxes right there as white, you know, and the CMU is kind of gray, because those colors are all up to an individual school's characteristics. So if we do brick, there's CMUs that are, you know, a reddish orange tint or whatever that will kind of allow that character to still be there.
Okay. And you'll actually see that in July, that really pops out at you when we do the high school auditoriums. Mrs. Hoseband, Angel Hoseband, who is the architect's going to take over this project, who is the project for the auditoriums, is going to show you different design elements at each of the high schools and then how the auditoriums will blend in with that. It's really interesting, so you'll enjoy that.
Thank you.
So the last...
A or B?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So what we're looking for, so it is kind of a motion item in the sense is to move forward as we, specifically with regards to, we need to put a design and get it quickly into the state for Jefferson and Casimir, since they will be under construction of the YZ project starting effective last day of school. In order to keep the construction manager on site and the construction moving, we do have to move those projects along. So what we're looking for the board is, ideally is a floor plan and elevation choice, so that we can then work with the individual schools and keep moving the process
Just
forward.
indicate what we want, no motion?
Yeah, just giving us direction to the
Good, I'll go left to right.
design development.
Mrs. Reagan's.
What floor plan?
Bleachers, no bleachers.
Oh, I like the bleachers for sure. And I'm happy to dispense with the restrooms, if that's a part of this discussion.
The person is now.
And as for the elevations, my only concern is north was built with the horizontal lines like this is showing, this elevation. Would be pronounced
On the north
horizontal? Yeah.
elevation?
No,
Oh.
at North High School.
This is not going to North High School.
I know. It's relevant, though. It has horizontal lines similar to what you're showing here that they thought looked really cool when it was first built, and now it's full of junk in those horizontal cuts?
It would be more similar to hulls. So the pieces of the wood, which are, well, like the faux wood, are very close together.
So not
at
much
hull.
space to
Yeah, so
collect
they're
in.
pronounced here, so you can kind of get that
Okay.
idea of the wood look.
Okay.
But it's more, if you remember Hull Middle School,
Yes.
they don't have that same problem because they're a lot closer together.
Okay.
So that would be the idea.
Yeah, no, this is a more pleasing elevation style to me.
I go with the bleacher plan as well, and this plan, in that, whatever is facing that Carson has some of that same architectural element, or something that pops that side out.
Yeah, I personally, the bathrooms are not a big deal to me as long as we're within the 200-foot radius or whatever you have to do. So if we have to design one with bathrooms, I guess we can. And then I like this because of the vertical elements. It kind of lowers the building a little bit. It's going to be tall. And then, again, whatever side looks to whatever outside world it is, to make it look as good as we can. Mrs. Deutsch.
I agree with Mr. Lee, and you know how the front, how that, the entrance to the gym has the signage?
Yes.
If it could be on the Carson side, then it would, that just would be a preference that I would have. Okay.
Yeah, for Jefferson, we can add that. Like I said, it's gonna have to be a site by site, because if you
Correct,
remember
correct.
Casimir, it's in the back, no one will see the sides, right? You'll see
Yes.
the front, so.
Okay.
That's a, as Dr. Menon will say, that's a simple add.
Okay.
It's the square footage and the changing of the whole architecture, that's it.
But Exhibit A's for me. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes on bleachers. And I don't quite have the strong opinion everybody else has on this or the other one, so this is fine, Ideal in the Crayola 8. So,
Mrs. Reagans.
I did have one other question. On Hull in particular, there was an interesting ventilation system to allow ventilation in the upper reaches of those columns or taller parts. Is there anything similar here, or how will that be happening?
Yeah, as you know, every school throughout the district, besides with the exception of UConn, does not have air conditioning. But the reason that wood striped piece is taller than its adjacent, gymnasium, the restrooms and things of that nature is because that will hide the mechanical units that are gonna sit there that will be for heating and ventilating. So the gym will be heated, and it will be able to suck out the hot, moist air in the summertime. It will not be cooled, but it will have the heating and ventilation, if that makes sense. So it's very similar to Hull Middle School has.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Popcorn.
And the movie. If I can get this to work, let's see here.
It's cool, so.
So if we're at Jefferson, we're entering.
That's looking at the bathroom.
So this is a kind of walkthrough of your gymnasium. This is showing the option that we kind of universally kind of want to continue developing. Man, I had it. There it is. Yeah, don't leave.
There it goes.
That's cool.
So, it's a gymnasium inside, so it's not, anything spectacular, right?
That's so, okay. Looks like Hull.
So it looked very similar to Hull, right?
A lot of natural light from above.
Yeah.
With bleachers.
We're doing the skylights.
We're doing the skylights.
Like the tubes?
That's what we put at Hull. That's why you get all that down.
Is it gonna have a scoreboard?
Yes.
Yes. It'll have everything that Hull currently contains.
Except these will have bleachers.
Except these will have those 4 rows of bleachers.
How long have you been an architect?
11 years, so.
So this software is you've grown up with it.
I was the last class in my university to have to do hand drawing. So, yeah, So you can see those little round things on the top. Those are your skylights. You know, they'll be hidden by the parapet of the building, and so you won't see those. But
Right.
that's essentially what your gymnasium would look like.
And one of the nice things that, especially visitors comment about Hull Middle School, is that on most days, they never turn the lights on in the gym during the day, because you don't need to with the solar tubes, because the light comes straight down, and really actually has performed better than we even expected it to there. So that's, you know, we wanted to show you the solar tubes. The same animation Angel Hose Band will be using for the auditoriums, so that you'll actually be able to walk inside the auditoriums when you get that in July.
Yeah, that one will be a little bit more exciting because obviously it's an auditorium compared to a gymnasium, right?
Depends. Okay, anybody from the audience wanna, we're keeping you up late? Yeah, one question. If you get up to the mic, so that in case somebody's watching it, they kinda know what the
I just
question
want to
is.
know, are they the typical type of solar tubes on the top where they're letting the light in? Are they this big? They're not big enough for a child to try to get through.
No, and a child would have to climb 30 feet in the air, so it'd be,
Well-
but they are rather big, and they're not a typical home installation skylight. So what you're used to at a home, it's a different type of system altogether. It's a solo tube. You can look it up online, solo tube, and you'll see the system that's in place, but it's a commercial grade
Okay.
system that, you know, obviously would be locked down and everything, so they wouldn't have that ability to even open it.
Eliminate any of that.
Okay, and we have somebody in the back that wants to get up and speak. We need your name and address slowly so that, or you don't need it? Okay,
No,
good,
never
we don't
mind.
need to worry about it.
Oh, okay. So you seem to be concerned about the aesthetic look from the Carson view, as I presume. However, won't there be trees blocking the view from the Carson Street?
A little bit, but not all the way. I mean, I can see over there pretty easily.
All right, sorry, that was my only
Okay,
concern.
yeah, good
Good
point.
point. Someone paying attention?
Not much, yeah. The driveway and everything's in front of where the building is, so you'll actually be able to see the whole building. Good point, though. Good, okay,
Okay,
so.
thank
I
you.
think you have direction. We have spent a lot of time on this thing.
Thank you.
Good, okay, then we gotta run and shot at getting out of here before the kids have curfew problems.
I'd like to say thank you to the board for your vote and for your consideration and really going and thinking about
We
this.
did
Thank
beat
you
it to
very
death,
much.
but we came up with something, so
welcome.
yes. Okay, bye-bye.
Welcome. Good night.
Okay. We have, item number 7, approval to adopt resolution number AS-17-14/15, resolution of the Board of Education of the Torrance Unified School District to acknowledge that the state facility program bond has exhausted funds requested by applications and commencement of pre-construction and/or construction activities that will be completed at district's discretion. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good, okay, now we're to consent. Good, yeah, well, that's an exercise in futility.
Let's get them out of here.
Oh, yes. Who's gonna take the duty of signing those kids out of here before curfew? So, kids, if you guys wanna go out there, we'll sign you out of here and you're out of here, so have fun.
Good night.
Yeah, we'll do something really important and we'll call your teacher about it. We got all the consent items. How do you want them one at a time? You want all of them? How do you want them? Okay, then make a motion to,
I move we, make a motion to approve the consent item agenda as a whole.
do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we made it all the way to the brutal end. Board calendars, information, we have 2015 graduation promotion schedules on our website for those people that need to know about those kinds of things. And then comments from the Board of Education. I'll start at my left, Mrs. Reagan's.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I just wanted to acknowledge some anniversary increments for our classified folks that are on our agenda for tonight. For 10 years of accredited service, I have Sarah Dumerk, Renika Pereira, Christine Takahashi, and June Yosaki. For 15 years of accredited service, Karen Broder, Alberto Estrada, Lisa Laranjo, and Nancy Salcido. And then for 20 years of work as campus security at North High School. I know this guy, Robert Nobles. Thank you, folks, for your work and effort on the part of our students and our schools. And I have two other things. One that I just had the pleasure of attending PTA convention with many of my PTA cohort from Torrance, and it was a very informative and productive week of information gathering. And now they're all back, and they're going to be doing teacher appreciation this week. So thank you, PTA, for doing all of that. And lastly, I just wanted to ask if we could create a written process or procedure for events on campuses to be approved, since we've had some events come forth that were not brought to us prior to being finalized. And I think maybe that's what we need to do, is look at how, what we do ask people to do and whether that process is clear and what the steps are so that everybody's on the same page with that.
Dr. Stowe's going to undertake that with Dr. State.
All righty. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's it. Thanks.
I like the
Yes.
surprise. I
Yeah,
kind of like the
okay.
surprise.
We're doing well there.
Surprises.
Mr. Steffen,
No, nothing.
Mr. Wormers.
Oh, I was going to say
Mr.
something.
Slagle,
You're next.
Sir, yes, sir.
I would like to personally thank you and ShareFest for what you did to our district offices. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you very, very much.
Can I tag with that, Mr.
Yeah,
Lee?
yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wormers, for that, and you're absolutely right. I have a long list that I'd like to read into the record of corporations that provided support for ShareFest. It is really a wonderful situation that we had. And I know all of our employees who work in that building are very grateful. First of all, they're very grateful to Ben King, who coordinated all of these companies and givers. With that, I'd like to point out the companies that provided support. Hoover Flooring, they provided the floor tile and the stone. Liquid Assets did the artwork. American Integrated, Star Hardware, Ray Art Landscaping, who's done a lot of work in our community. TY Nursery, a local nursery here in town, donated 500 plants. Alpha Mechanical, Incorp Environmental, who does environmental work all over the district for us. Gould Electric, in terms of electric work. CT Giorgio, Construction. Garland Roofing, Lettner Roofing, Western States Roofing, Tecta America, Sandy Pringle and Associates for not only providing a gift of $500, which the board approved at the last meeting, but also people. And finally, Sunbelt Rentals for all of the equipment that they provided to us. All in all, Mr. King indicated to me today that these donations were worth about $83,000. So quite a saying for all of our contractors and other people here in our community and what they did with that. But it has made a huge difference for us in the district. So I personally want to thank each and every one of those companies.
And just as an aside from being there for a little bit of the day, that there were a lot of staff people there. In fact, a lot of people sitting in this room were there that work for the district, scrubbing walls, planting plants, digging holes. And there were people from the community helping as well. So this was kind of a group project that I think in all the years that I've been around, I don't ever remember that building across the street being anything appealing, and it's gonna be kinda cool now. So the bathrooms are still a little prehistoric, but that's okay. Now they've almost become cool now, so they're mid-century, so that's good. So, very good job. Anything else, Mr. Wormers?
Yes, this evening was a traffic commission meeting, and I've been in touch with a bunch of parents who were at the traffic commission meeting to discuss their crossing guards. If you and Mrs. Deutsch can be a little firmer with the city when they do these kind of things, to let us know about it, then I won't get skewered by these PTA moms wondering what's going on with their traffic guards or crossing guards or other things that involve the city. That's what the whole JPA is all about. We should have better communication, so.
It isn't a joint powers agreement, it's a joint use agreement. And then, actually, this meeting was supposed to be a month earlier and was moved to this meeting. And in fact, Tammy Kahn, our public information officer, actually helped the city with the notifications to get them out to everyone. Because originally the meeting was going to be held without a lot of notification going out to everyone. So we were proactively involved in that when it came up, moved it to this meeting, and hopefully those people that are involved and have concerns with it will see it. I suspect we will see it in a couple of weeks when we have our joint meeting with the city council.
I hope so.
Mrs. Deutsch.
I know, I was just going to comment about how beautiful and the lobby. I was just blown away by the fact that it's got the huge logo, and I just don't know how they were able to do that. I mean, but it was just amazing. Thank you to Mrs. Reagans and to Dr. Mannon for sending those pictures to us. But it's just amazing, and the landscaping is amazing too. So that was just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. West High has a large mechanical carnival this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you're in the neighborhood, you want to ride a Ferris wheel or a hammerhead or something like that, those will all be available to you from 3 p.m. on Friday to 9:30 at night. It turns off on Friday and Saturday nights. And then on Sunday night, I think it's going to turn off around 6. Looks like it'll be fun. So I'm sure I will stop by since I love mechanical carnivals. I also attended the SoCal Rock dinner. I didn't say Scrock, with Dr. Mannon. In fact, quite honestly, wasn't looking forward to going. And actually found that it was a lovely evening. I had a very good time, met a number of pretty impressive students and watched a lot of cool stuff go on, and actually walked out of there thinking this was kind of a good event. So I will, if you cannot go again, Mrs. Reagans, I will fill in gladly.
Wow.
So, that, I don't often say that. So, and anyway, I think we beat this thing to death, so let me make a motion for adjournment in memoriam of retired high school teacher Jim Stannard. I'm trying to figure this thing broke off. Rockford Haken, adult school career technology resource teacher, and retired South High School teacher Roland Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.